Hi, hello, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm the public health doctor and I make YouTube videos on all things public health in an attempt to demystify it a bit. So today I'm actually going to be talking about the UK Public Health Training Programme. If you haven't already guessed, I'm a UK-based public health doctor or public health registrar. The job title is public health registrar. And I essentially I'm making this video mainly because when I was applying for this job a couple of years ago, I was searching everywhere for a video of someone who was already in the job just talking about what the job involves and what the program is like, and I couldn't find anything like that online. I saw information on the faculty website and on blogs, but nothing anywhere else. And I just kind of thought to myself, if I was to ever get onto the scheme, I would make sure I made a video for people like me that also like to hear from people in the job. So essentially, that's what this video is. So I'm going to just start off by saying that I'm not going to lie to you. Public health is competitive. It's one of the most competitive medical specialties. It's more competitive than dermatology and cardiothoracic surgery, if you can even believe that. But I just want to say that because I know that when I first applied and I told people I was doing public health, I wanted to be a public health registrar, a lot of the comments I was getting was, oh, that's really competitive. Oh, are you sure? I just want to say people will say it's competitive because it is, but somebody has to get the job. So I just wanted to say that in the beginning, just so that people don't get demoralized when they hear other people saying that it's competitive. Because I kept saying to myself, okay, but somebody has to get the job, so why can't it be me? And similarly to you, why can't it be you? So just don't let anyone make you not want to apply or get demoralized too early. I think definitely give it a go if you're interested in working in public health. So public health is, like I said already, is competitive. And part of the reason why it's competitive is that it is the only medical specialty that is open to doctors and non-doctors. Now, split it up into doctors and non-doctors because the requirements are also different for doctors and non-doctors. So if you're a doctor, you can apply straight after doing your FY2 year. If you're not familiar with the UK training, the way the UK training is organised, you do medical school, you do your foundation years, and then you can apply for specialty training. So you can go straight from F2 to ST1, which essentially means you don't have to do any core medical or core surgical, IMT. You don't have to do IMT or anything like that. You can just go straight to specialty training, which is really good if you're worried about a long training scheme. For non-doctors, and this includes clinical professionals like nurses, pharmacists, physiotherapists, and non-clinical professionals like people who have experience working in public health, the requirements are a bit different. You need to have 60 months of working, 60 months experience of working in a relevant specialty or relevant field. The exact specifics of what counts or what doesn't count, I can't really comment on because as a doctor I went through the medical route, but I will advise that regardless of if you're a doctor or non-doctor, I will leave the faculty link down below. Just make sure you double check what the requirements are because they can change at any time, and you want to make sure that you actually meet the requirements before you apply. So I just wanted to say that. So like I said, different requirements for doctors and non-doctors. I have my notes down here, by the way, that's why I'm looking down here. But just wanted to say that in the beginning. And again, linked to what I said about not being demoralized, there's not a quota on how many doctors or non-doctors have to be recruited. So just bear that in mind. Again, don't worry too much about how many doctors or non-doctors. It's very much about your performance. So again, don't let anybody demoralize you into not applying. So how long is the training program? So it's a 4 or 5 year training program where you do placements across different sites, or you do different placements with the ultimate aim of becoming a consultant. And over the 4 or 5 years, you achieve competencies that mean that at the end you're qualified to be a public health consultant. Now, the learning outcomes that you have to achieve, or the competencies, you get a long list when you start at the beginning, and it can look a bit intimidating, but just to bear in mind that you need to only achieve about 1/5 of it every year, with the aim of having achieved all the competencies by the end of your 5 years, or 4 years if you are on a 4-year program. Now the difference between the 4 and 5 year program is very simply if you have a master's in public health or not. If you don't have a master's in public health, you're put on the 5 year program, and if you do, then you're on the 4 year program. And essentially, if you don't have a master's in public health, you spend one of those 5 years either doing a master's or doing modules of a master's. Exactly what you end up doing would depend on what previous degrees you have, what your deanery deemed to be appropriate for you. Is very much down to the individual person. But if you have a master's in public health already, is 4 years as far as I know. I'm on the 5 year program, so I'm going to be referring to 5 years in this video, but if you're a 4 year person, when I say 5, you change it in your mind to 4. So when you, like I said, when you join the program, you have a long list of competencies, and I'm going to include just a screenshot of the website we use to track the competencies called ePortfolio. So just so you don't have to panic about, oh, what competencies have I achieved or haven't achieved, there is a way of tracking it using this website. It's not the most intuitive website ever, but it does the job. It gives you an idea of how much you need to what you still need to achieve and what you've already achieved. But I wouldn't worry too much about ePortfolio right now. You will get the hang of it once you actually start working in public health. So the scheme itself is split into 2 phases. You have phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1, you're a junior public health registrar, more or less, and you have to do the placements that are very much bread and butter public health. It's in this phase that you do your local authority placement, you do your health protection placement, and you also have to do your public health exams. And if you haven't gotten a master's, or if you need to do a master's or modules of a master's, you do all of these in phase 1. So you're quite junior in phase 1, and essentially this is where you get your knowledge of public health. You get a solid foundation of what working in public health is, or what it involves. And then phase 2 is where you're more of a senior registrar. And as a senior registrar, you then have a little bit more freedom as to what kind of placements you do. So examples of placements you can do in phase 2 are things like working in Public Health England, you can work in specialised commissioning, you can do a placement in academia, you could do an academic placement, you can do, what else? Specialised commissioning is a really interesting, very competitive, nationally available placement where you can work in the office of the Chief Medical Officer. So that's really exciting, but as you can understand, it's really competitive. But those are the kind of placements that you can only really apply for once you're in phase 2, because then you have that solid foundation, like I said. And in phase 2 is where if you have any particular interest, you can try and tailor your placements to that interest. But the kind of placements you end up choosing will depend on the combination of what competencies you need to achieve already, and also what is available in your deanery. Just in case it wasn't clear, compared to clinical or other medical specialties where you choose your placements at the beginning when you choose your job, in public health, except phase 1 is very much set in stone, but phase 2 has more leeway where you kind of direct what placement you want. So that's giving you more independence, but ultimately you have to make sure that the placement you choose is a GMC approved placement, you have a supervisor, it has to meet certain requirements. You can't just pick somewhere and just say you want to do a placement there. But there's a lot more freedom, is what I'm trying to get at. In terms of supervision, for each placement that you do, you have a supervisor for that placement, who you go to for any issues with that placement, as you can probably guess. But you also have a training program director. Now, your training program director, or your TPD, has oversight of your entire training, and they will have other registrars who they look after across different years. So they have a wealth of experience. They're usually very understanding, and you go to them for any issues with your training in general that may not be specific to one placement, or if you have to escalate any issues with one placement to someone more senior, that's who you would go to. So that's phase 1 and phase 2. I believe that's actually everything I was going to... I'm just checking to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. No, that's everything I was going to cover in this video. I hope you found this helpful. Regarding the actual application process of the assessment centre, selection centre, what books I use to prepare and so on, I will do a separate video on that because that's really quite detailed, and I want to make sure I get everything right, bearing in mind that it's changed a bit because of COVID. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like that, and like this video if you liked it, so I know what kind of videos you guys like to see. I made this video because I answered the questions that I would have wanted answered when I was applying. But if I haven't answered the questions that you want answered, then you just leave a comment down below and I'll make sure I respond as soon as I can. If you have any video requests or any other anything else you want to see, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you. Bye.